It's time now for the Ask the Mayor program here on your hometown news station, AM-1300 KGLO. And with this being the second week of the month, Clear Lake's Mayor Mark Ebeling joins us for comments. Make sure you got your microphone up before I ask you to start talking. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Not too bad. It's a great time of the year. And, obviously, last time we saw each other was out at the Legacy golf course here a couple of days ago. And I guess we start getting in that mode of thinking spring moving into summer here as we move along through May. And obviously the summer season in Clear Lake is always a very busy place.
Yes, it is. Activity is picking up. Weather, in my mind, hasn't been the greatest.
Right.
A lot of wind
Yeah.
and could use some rain, but it's knocking on the door.
I think we're going to get a little rain this weekend. So unfortunately on the weekend, but talk about, and I think I saw some of your comments in the latest city newsletter that obviously as we get further along in towards the summer months, we obviously want to think about safe boating on Clear Lake. And obviously that with that great recreational thing that we have in the lake, and people just need to use some common sense when they're out there.
A lot of little common sense, and there are rules to the water, which was in the newsletter. Our chief, Jim Finstead with the fire department, had submitted some information, and that tripped my mind. I'm like, oh, it'd be great for people to be able to see an actual graph of here are the right-of-way rules for boating, and hopefully as many people as possible can see those.
Well, if you go to the city's website, or if you go back to the city's Facebook page and scroll back a little ways, you can find that newsletter. And obviously a lot of people just bring in their boats and they want to take advantage of the lake. So, but speaking of Chief Finstead, looking back at last week's meeting, something that hadn't been addressed in a number of decades was the stipend for the volunteer firefighters, and kind of moving into a better plan than what had been established there, it sounds like.
It is well overdue, to say the least. We are very fortunate to have a lot of volunteers and a very active group of volunteers. We're so fortunate in that regard. It's one of those, you hope you don't have to spend money on it, because that means they're going out on calls, but I mean, it's going to happen. And if you're at a residence where you have to call the fire department, that's not a fun thing for anybody.
And maybe, just talk a little bit more. It went from a flat fee per month for these firefighters, kind of on a basis of on a per call type thing, but there's also some guidelines and expectations for firefighters to be able to get that stipend.
Yes. There's a percentage of calls that they have to hit every year. And that number is,
I think it was like 15%, 20% or something like that.
15 or 20%, which they have great participation. I mean, people have full-time jobs that they're not able to make every call, but, and that was, the chief kind of recommended that and thought that was a good way. We'll see how it goes. And hopefully all the volunteers are happy with it.
And you try something out and see if it works. And if it doesn't work, or there's some issues that come up, that's why you bring it back to the council table, right? So
exactly.
During last week's meeting as well, the council and staff heard a proposal by the Gabrielson Surgical Clinic on a possible expansion of their facility, and talked with Dr. Dan Gabrielson a little bit here a couple of days ago, and he's excited to try, in an opportunity to try to bring this facility to Clear Lake. Yeah,
it's an exciting opportunity. I think, from feedback I've received, people are excited about it, of the services that they're going to bring. And the building looks fantastic. That new age prairie school, I think, is kind of what they call it.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah. Fantastic looking building. And, it's nice to be able to offer some services, health services locally.
And also what I wasn't expecting to hear as part of that proposal was it could potentially bring a number of jobs, because obviously you've got to staff those two operating rooms. You got to staff the clinic, that part of the building that is going to be part of that expansion. It sounds like there may be some other things that get in there, but it's always good to bring more jobs to Clear Lake.
Yeah, I believe 20 to 30 roughly.
Yeah.
It's great.
Some of the other things, just looking back at some of the other things on, meetings of the past, of course, city got the budget finalized and approved right before the May deadline. And I know you're chuckling a little bit because it seems like I went right down the wire, but it's a process that is not the most, I've said this on this program for years. It's not the most glamorous part of a council and city staff's job, but it is the most necessary part of a council and a staff's job to get that budget approved, finalized, and move forward into the next fiscal year, of course, coming up in July.
Yeah, it is. No, it's not glamorous at all. That is a lot of processes, and I think we came through with flying colors on it.
I hope so. But remind people of some of the things that were highlighted in that budget. That obviously, one of the things is city's always worried about infrastructure and keeping that up, and just if you can give some of the highlights of that budget for the next fiscal year.
I've almost forgot about it. I'm worried about.
You got it done, and you put it in the past, right?
I'm worried about working on budget coming this fall, but a lot of infrastructure for 26.
And that's a good point, because obviously the legislature has passed their bill, which seems like there's some positives, even though it is the 2% cap on that property tax bill that the legislature passed. And what have you heard from your staff? Positives, negatives about that legislation that got through?
Clear Lake, we're going to be fine. It's a 2% cap on growth. Our budget meetings are probably going to be, I shouldn't even say spirited, but it's going to be a little more difficult budgeting wise. One thing we've always hung our hat on is our reserves.
Right.
And that goes back 20 plus years. Financially, we've, really spent dollars wisely. So with what we have in reserves, that amount does become capped with the new legislation. And so we're going to have to, dig in and figure out where do we assign these funds, for future expenditures, restrict them for, fire truck, ambulance,
Right.
Road grader, things of that, or specific infrastructure improvements. So it'll be interesting, and we're fortunate. City staff, they do a great job with, here's our wants, here's our needs, and it's probably going to be just a little bit longer process to get there in the next cycle.
And I think all cities and counties will probably have to feel their way through the process the next year or two, just to and who knows if you get a different set of legislators in there. I'm not saying that the Democrats are necessarily going to take over, but you never know what you're going to get out of a legislative session on anything, do you?
No, you don't. But we kind of knew this was coming because it's been talked about for quite a few years, and they were able to get there.
The Republicans were hell bent to get something out of there before getting out for the session.
Right.
So.
And it could have been a lot worse.
It's true. That is very true. Let's talk about the Surf District area, as we're talking with Mayor Mark Ebeling in Clear Lake here on your hometown news station, AM-1300 KGLO, on the Ask the Mayor program. Council back a couple meetings ago, officially completed, and city accepted the MEC project, the MEC project, as part of the surf ballroom next to that. And of course, the Oaks Hotel, that part of the project down at the Surf District continues to go along. And of course, the street that has to be rerouted there as well. Maybe just get us a detailed update on everything down there in the Surf District right now.
So the project itself with the MEC and streetscape will be wrapped up by the end of June in order to fulfill the grant.
Right.
We have the lake access, which should be a fairly simple component of that. The other is the statue, the 3 bronze statues. and hopefully, well, they better be delivered and installed before the end of June. So that's looking good and getting that wrapped up. The hotel is, got to refer to my notes.
Yeah.
We're getting close to taking final action on all that. Next meeting, we have bids that are due for the 7th Avenue improvement project. And then set the public hearing for doing conveyance of property from city to developer and approve the final plat. The June 1st meeting, we have our public hearing on vacation and conveyance of property from city to developer, take action to convey the property, and then approve the contract and bond on 7th Avenue. So it's ideally be able to break ground on June 2nd, which at this rate, it's kind of breakneck speed,
Right.
but that is the goal. And I think we should be able to get that done. No problem.
Let's talk about some of the other things that, have kind of been in the news over in Clear Lake. E-bikes and skateboards. I know some people have, approached the council about those specific things about, obviously e-bikes are a thing that have grown in popularity. Of course, we know the city has dealt with skateboard issues in the past, but just kind of get us up to date on things dealing with e-bikes, I guess, specifically.
Well, I had a meeting with the chief of police and our city administrator last week, and was all laid out in front of me, and what kind of a mess between the map of where you can ride on a sidewalk, where you can't. And we have to take into consideration state legislation regarding e-bikes. So we had a good meeting. I think we've got it crunched down into a fairly simple ordinance, and also reworking the map of where you can ride on sidewalks and where you can't. Kind of the downtown area is kind of what we are thinking at this point. So it'd be bikes of any type, skateboards, and whatever conveyances minus, assisted type conveyances. So not on sidewalks, which I think is good. So it was, for our police department to try to enforce the ordinance we had is very difficult. So this should simplify things, and we'll get it out to the public. Everybody will be able to see it, and do a lot of education. So,
people have complaints about golf cars and UTVs as well. And is that anything that needs to be looked at a little bit more? Is it, or are those ordinances the way they're described now? Or my question obviously is, does that need to be looked at as well, or while we're looking at e-bikes and skateboards?
Well, I think golf carts, I haven't heard too much negative recently. Of course, we're just getting into that time of the year.
We will check back on this next month, right? Now.
Right. Yeah, we will. I think people have grown accustomed to them. And I think, as long as the golf cart drivers that, can't keep up with the speed of traffic are mindful that others are on the road, we should be okay. UTVs, I do get some suggestions from folks that live out in the county.
Right.
We require a permit. Of course, it doesn't cost anything. But I don't know where we're at on that. I don't see us changing that permitting process for UTVs, but
well, and that was an issue that I guess was heavily discussed a year or two ago, if I remember right, too, because especially with the seatbelt requirements and some other, I can't remember all the requirements that that was last addressed, but like you say, we'll come back in a month and see once we hit that Memorial Day level on the calendar, and we'll see what your opinion is at that point. I guess the Lake Theater, obviously that's a great thing in Clear Lake, and the remodeling of that facility, an ongoing project, but they've been able to take advantage of a new grant, it sounds like.
Yes, they were awarded a $100,000 Catalyst emergency grant from the IEDA to work on the roof and facade needs. So that's the initial phase, get the outside done and then move into the inside. And once it's all completed, it's going to be fantastic. A great venue.
One other thing I wanted to ask you about, which I noticed from the newsletter as well, K9 unit has finally joined the police force, and obviously that is a great tool for the police department to have, not only for the Clear Lake Police Department, but I would assume that there's also the possibility that dog has been used by other law enforcement on stops too.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic. When you need a K9, you need a K9.
Right.
But from a public relations aspect, I think it's great. And speaking of that, we're working through getting a SRO with the school district, working with the school district, which is great.
School resource officer, by the way.
Yeah.
Acronyms I don't
yes
like.
Right.
If you know,
well
if you know
the PD uses a different term,
I'm sure they do.
But which is a great partnership.
Yeah.
I think the more positive interaction you can have between police and public is better, and it's good to start that out at a young age. So it's looking good.
And of course, here recently the agreement between Clear Lake and Ventura just got approved as well, I think, since the last time we sat down and talked. And that's been a good partnership between the two communities. And obviously, Ventura needs some sort of police force there to help provide public safety. And Clear Lake has been a very good partner in that as well.
Yeah, I think it's been a great partnership. Their mayor he likes to haggle, but it took us a while. but we got there.
I'll let you make your comments. I'm not going to say anything. Anyway, anything else that you want to hit on before we let you go?
Just looking forward to summer and 250 years.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because the next time we meet will be right before July 4th, and we'll be past Memorial Day, right before July 4th. And I know the chamber of the city are getting things ready for a great celebration.
Yes. Yep. Right. Looking forward to it.
We are. Well, Mayor, we appreciate you taking some time out to join us, and we'll hopefully talk to you next month.
Sounds good.
All right.
Thanks, Bob.
You bet. Clear Lake's Mayor Mark Ebeling here on the Ask the Mayor program here on your hometown news station, AM-1300.